Vamos iniciar agora, então, a mesa institucional do primeiro workshop Print CAPES UFSC 2020. Convido os participantes da mesa a abrirem suas câmeras e microfones. Teremos a mediação do professor Hugo.
Boa tarde. Eu faço a primeira apresentação da mesa, mas a professora Cristiana que vai mediar a mesa, né, professora?
Bom, podemos começar? I think we can start. I know there are some colleagues who are not familiar in Portuguese language, so I'd like to welcome. Eu gostaria de dar as boas-vindas para os nossos colegas, and I'd like to introduce this table after 4 other ones which were about our subjects from print, the sustainability, human health, nanotechnology and nanoscience, Industry 4.0, and language in the languages and interculturalities and identities. Well, it's been tough work being here for 2 days, and this is our last table to evaluate and to see the pros and cons about our project that now is 2 years old. And I must say that I'm very proud of it. I received it almost as a gift. So it was the leadership of the beginning of the project was from Professor Hugo Moreira Soares, and also had the participation of Professor Roberto Pacheco. And I'm afraid, I don't know if Professor Bachami also were among them, or Professor Gregorio. Anyway, also everyone. Leila also, Professor Leila, Professor, so, yeah. Well, I received it when I came to this post as Dean of Graduate Studies. And as I said, I'm very proud. I was afraid in the beginning because it was the first time we had some kind of a project like that, and I haven't, so I weren't aware of all the procedures that have been developed before. But you know, when we make a good job, we have a good heritage. And then I had this heritage. It was really, really a gift for me. And now, after 2 years, I can say that our management group, our gestor group, they are so they made a very successful work. And this work has been shown during these 2 days. And they are here, so most of our management group is here in this table, and I think they can explain you much better what is going on. But I just want to highlight 2 of the duties of this management group, just to give you a taste what exactly we are doing, the the size of the task we are developing. So we have by law the task to care for the whole performance and good implementation of this internationalization institutional project. The beginning of this project, and he can speak better about it. You have the floor.
Thank you, Professor Cristiani, for the introduction. I'm just going to say some few words. I don't have any slides. And I think it's a good beginning of this roundtable to make a little historic of how we came up to this project. And well, I wrote down what I have to say, so I'll read it, okay? But okay, so we are debating about our future, the UFSC Future Internationalization Program. It's important to point out that promises that drove us to this moment, which are today. At the end of 2017, CAPES launched the print call, posing a major challenge for the Brazilian universities. Managing the resources to be invested in each institution to promote internationalization action. To this end, we should identify the university vocations, translate into themes, and make a 4-year investment plan to develop internationalization activities in the various types of scholarships and actions previously administered by CAPES. So it came all to us to decide what to do and how invest the money to internationalize better UFSC. Well, the biggest challenge was not having parameters to follow to conduct and organize this process. We didn't have any things to watch. So, and then it was an open field to create a new government structure for our university internationalization process. We have to create everything from the scratch. So the first challenge was to identify UFSC's vocation and translate this in themes that would guide our internationalization actions. How to do this if the diversity of teaching and research in the university is very wide and bring all of equal importance. All we do is important. So how do this, if the diversity, it's very, very, very big. So the second challenge was what process are we going to adopt to define this vocation? From top down, identifying historically more active groups that could guarantee the success of the program execution, or from bottom up, promoting a participatory process that would give us all groups the chance to change and speak up, extracting the evidence of their vocations. We then decide to follow the participatory process from the bottom up. And I think this was a very good decision. Well, this first action was to create a committee to elaborate this proposal, which would be the basis of the future management committee that we have now for this program. This commission was nominated by the members of the representing graduate courses at the graduation chamber. It was composed by 5 representatives from different areas: agrarian, human, health, and technological science. So this group defined that we should have around 5 themes. That came up 5, but around 5. We discussed that were global current topics, and it had to be transversal topics to all our areas of knowledge in such a way that all graduate programs could identify themselves and participate. We defined that each graduate program should present their internationalization project with the themes involving the necessary resource for this. So we also defined that each graduate program should involve at least 2 other grad programs in each project, aiming at interdisciplinary and interaction between the groups, and to reduce similar competing actions. We also defined that we would make an internal selection process to compose the UFSC project with consistent and structured proposals. Okay, to start breaking down the barriers, we promote a dialogue between these various grad programs. We decide to hold 5 workshops, 1 on each theme, where the programs presented their capacity and project ideas. And this was a very, very, very grateful time where we could have a big picture of what is being done at UFSC. That never have been happened before. Very nice. I like it very much, very much. When CAPES launched the print call, we were in a troubled situation and experiencing many uncertainties. This was an intense and fruitful process where it involved entire the university, giving us energy, hope to build up a better future. During the execution of the first year of the program, we faced several challenges. As the program was a new program to CAPES, during this period, there were several changes. Maybe every month or 2 months, we had a change on the goals and how to conduct this. And each change, we had to adjust on how to conduct the project. Mainly had to do with the big governance adjustment. The governance was our biggest challenge, both external between UFSC and CAPES, and internal between the management committee and the grad programs of UFSC. Well, in the second year, we are now completing, in spite of the problems associated with the pandemic, we have been adapting to this new reality. So the first year was very hard, but this second year we are more adapted. So the internationalization process at UFSC left the paper and became a reality. It's a path of no return. We have just to go further. Today we are stronger, more confident, and united on the purpose to bring UFSC towards to be a globalized university. I want to end my speech by thanking everyone who participated directly or indirectly in this process. I have to mention the members of the first proposal committee. I'm not going to say all the names, okay, because it's a lot of people. But the first committee that has decided all this that I have mentioned before, thank you very much. The members of the management committee that we have now, including the foreign members who readily accepted our invitation to participate on it. The sub-project coordinators that is working very hard. Thank you very much, because they really put, we have a saying in Portuguese, put the clothes on, the shirt on. The technicians, teachers, students participating in any manner, and all the efforts and dedication that they have to the program. And also finally, thank you and congratulate our prorector of grad studies, Professor Cristiani, who is facing this project administration very efficiently. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Hugo. So I'd like to welcome Professor Roberto Carlos Santos Pacheco, who also take part since the beginning of this project. As Professor Hugo said, a step of no return. So we are on this path of internationalization, and we are going to go forward and moving on. So you have the floor, Professor Roberto.
Thank you, Professor Cristina. Oh, first of all, Cristina, I'd like to thank everyone in the room, Professor Hugo, who has led us in the first phases. Very good to see again Professor Dashamir, that was in the first group with us, Professor Leila, Jussara, Professor Gregorio, Professor Barbara, and Professor Enzo. Well, I have a presentation, so I have to share here my screen. See, since you're going to see that I couldn't do it without it. In my 10 minutes, right? 10 minutes we have here, okay. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
Is there?
Yes, is there.
Okay.
Okay, my talk was about the findings and challenges that we had in this steering committee during this time, and in order to do that, I brought 3 points to present here. First, Professor Hugo has already told the history and where we come to the print governance. It's a program that is national but has an institutional governance. It's a unique, I think, instrument at the graduate program in Brazil. And then I will show UFSC at Scopus database before print, how we were and how we use this culture that we already had in internationalization to foster print, and some print challenges. Well, print governance is a multi-layer program, as I said. At the federal level, I would say that CAPES has this challenge, how to make Brazilian graduate programs international. So it's a very unique and broad challenge to the country. Here, and so CAPES has talked about us yesterday of our international relationship directory. So there are several challenges there besides print. And at university, we have to plan, manage, finance internationalization, but not, of course, not only in the graduate programs and not only in the scientific part. So internationalization is already a challenge for the institutions. And that in the particular case of print, this is our management group or steering committee, as you like to translate. And of course, our vice directory, rectory in graduate program. And then comes to the administrative organization of graduate program. As Professor Lugo has told us, at UFSC, we decided to come from how is the current social demand that we should work on our scientific levels. And then came this five axes, five thematic axes. There are not the conventional areas that we have in CAPES. So that brought us a challenge to combine graduate programs that have different cultures, different administrative procedures, and so the operational level is really challenged. For the first time, we have a steering committee, has to do a public call, combining social science, human science, and technology engineering, which was going to be the PhD students that we send abroad. So what are the main challenges that we have as an institution? So that was the first time I think we had to plan this in this way at university. And I'm not talking, of course, only at UFSC, I'm talking about the federal universities in Brazil as well. As mentioned yesterday, we have 37 institutions right now with this challenge. And I think UFSC has done a different job on that because our organization was based, as I said, on that society demand. But how we were before print? In order to answer that question, I will have, I'm not a beetle, but I'll call a help from a friend. My friend, Walter Fernandes, he is the head of this interdisciplinary group research at the graduate program at the Technology, Society and Sustainability at the University Technological Federal of Paraná. And they have done a very interesting job using Scopus and SciVal to analyze our institutions at South Brazil. And he showed me how UFSC is this, and exactly from 2015 to 2019, when we started print. So at this period of time, our university has published 76,100 documents with 15, more than 15 authors. Comparing to Federal Paraná and Rio Grande do Sul, our neighbor states, we are close to half of URGS, which is a more traditional university. There are more years than us, and a little more than Federal Paraná. Well, these documents and authors, we have, in 2019, UFSC has published only Scopus, only this database, 3,000 documents per year. And how these documents are distributed in terms of knowledge. And that comes another strength from our university. It's really distributed in almost all areas, but of course, our traditional engineering, 12%, and then medicine, 9%, agriculture and biological science, 8%, and then comes with 6, and it's around 6%. We have computer science, physical and astronomy, chemistry, biochemistry, and material science. And then the list goes on to other areas like mathematics and arts and humanities and business management and accounting. So you see that, as you see in this other graphic here, that UFSC has published in almost all big knowledge areas that we have in the university, of course, with traditional strength in engineering, technology, and health science. But this is one of the indicators that you should look at universities if it's as a whole can be internationalized. And you see here that this is the case of UFSC in terms of quantity and diversity of publications. 80% of this is in English, of course, and then the quality. How about the quality? And here's a very interesting number here. Our university has 43% of our papers in the first quartile of quality. And if you look at the two first quartile of qualities in terms of impact, how this articles has been cited in other publications, 60%, 2/3 of our publications are in the two quality quartiles, which is astonishing, very good performance, of course. And another indicator that shows that is how a paper here is cited from other places on the world. In a general number would be 6 times, but the SciVal has a weighted field which considers the population, the potential citation in each area. And a world average is 1. We are 23% over the average, which means our papers not only published, but are also cited. And around the world, we have been cooperated with North America, Europe, Asia, and of course, South America. And in North America, more than 700 institutions. We have people from there co-publishing with our university. And which universities are there? Well, if you look at, for instance, United States, 538 institutions from their country have co-authorship with us. And that also can be explained from our students that have already concluded here and live abroad, and of course, mainly from our partnership, current partnership with research groups abroad. And universities cover high-quality universities like Harvard, Johns Hopkins, and the whole range of universities from the United States. Another indicator here that we should consider, Professor Hugo, Professor Cristiani, in the future. CIVAL has an indicator that's very interesting. It calculates the potential of cooperation. And I brought an example here from Mexico. You see here the institutions that we have now cooperation with Mexico, the 10 universities there that we have cooperation. What the indicator does is this: it takes the whole content and compare with your content. And these are the universities that we could also cooperate regarding the research we are doing. Another indicator that I think is very important, we think about it, is when we publish with international collaboration, our paper goes upper or down. Of course, it should be upper, but see this: if you publish a paper with a single author, your impact factor is 0.26. And if you do that with a national collaboration among universities, we collaborate among ourselves, we go to 0.67. Curiously, when we do that with national universities here, we go to 0.65. And when we do it internationally, we go to up to 239 citations. It means that UFSC is also a university that collaborates, and it helps to increase the impact citation of other neighbor universities. That, of course, have brought us international prestigious, which is here, you can see here in the World University Rankings, that calls us that we are 9th in Latin America, number 9. And according to this ranking, our students have 3% of participation on international publications also. So the remarks here would be our history. Before print, we have a robust scientific international production, and particularly if we compare this with our sister universities, Federal University in Brazil, there is room, of course, for improvement, and indicators like this should help us in the management. And I come to the 3 and final point, which be our print challenges in this context. Well, first of all, my concern is this: I hope we can keep on with the social-oriented focus of the print. Internationalization is not only a scientific process; it's a multidimensional, and the way we arrange print to go from what society needs and then put our project from our graduate program, it's very interesting. I think we should keep on with this. And to do that, we have to consider a multidimensional internationalization process. I mentioned here 2 fields of studies on that: transdisciplinarity, like citizen science in co-production, mobility around our departments, and of course, digital education. Not only changing the learning and teaching process, but also our institution should go further with a new process, a digitalized university, more efficient. And then I invite the ones that didn't watch the table before of us to see what happened there. This is there at YouTube. For instance, Professor Camarinha has just told us what to do with the bad traditions that we have in our universities that should be stopped now. And that's very, very difficult. And also, what Professor David Romero has said, we need to reinvent university. So it's a disruptive process that we are now, and we should be alert and do what society is actually asking for us. And my final point on that is how to foster print. Of course, not only the print as a program, but his mission of internationalization of graduate programs. Especially, as you see yesterday, I am very concerned how it's going to be the new policies and how we're going to keep going with this financial, I hope so, and how to keep increasing and institutionalizing this at the graduate program. That will be a challenge for us. And I thank you for this. I hope I didn't take too much time of you. I think your microphone, Professor Cristiani, is off.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you very much. Now we have Professor Gregorio Jean Varvax Rodos, who is going to speak for us about the project. You have the floor, Professor.
Good afternoon to everyone, and I'm thanking to my friends, my colleagues from the first group, which is the language, interculturality, and identities. They give me this challenge to present what are the possibilities and the obstacles, I would say challenges and consequences of the print program for our group. I would say that we are around 13 programs going from the philosophy school to the engineering school. We have disciplinary programs, we have interdisciplinary programs, and we have some multidisciplinary programs. So we have a nice range of graduate programs. And let's put some of the things which come out and also my experience. I would say that the possibilities, they are tremendous. You know, this print program has increased significantly the possibilities for the different graduate programs and for different academic in these programs, especially for the new ones. Okay, so we have opened a door. You know, the problem is this door going to keep open? Are we going to be able to explore the most of this openness? You know, and this is a challenge. This is a real challenge for us, you know, because what we have realized is that those academics which have a good international connections and which have a good work with other schools, they are taking, I would say, the best results from this project. The thing is how to pull or to push the other academic, the young ones, and the ones which don't have international connections to embrace this program and to participate actively in this program and to be able to make international connections. One of the good possibilities that we have with the print is that we can, in some aspects, I would say freely, you know, send our academic to universities abroad for a short period. When I mean short period is 1 week, 2 weeks, you know, from 1 week to 2 weeks, you know, and then they can meet, you know, some colleagues there. They can manage to try to increase their international connection, you know, and to discover new spaces for developing research. This, I would say, that is a very good possibility that print, the project, brought to us, to the academic. But the challenge is, are they going to take the most of this opportunity? The second is that we can plan, we can have a kind of prediction who and when or where we are going to send our students. So this is a good thing. But we have a challenge as well inside the graduate programs, which is to bring the colleagues to participate to print. Because the way that we design print, which I consider was a very good decision and a very nice project, makes some of our colleagues to think that they are not part of this project. These projects are or belong or are of those guys who wrote the project or are the manager of the project. So this is a challenge to bring them to participate to the project, to go abroad, to develop connections, to develop international connections, to increase the possibilities to develop good research. One thing which is all my colleagues have complained is about the paperwork. We have a very, I would say, very, very bad paperwork, and an enormous paperwork. And this is a burden for I would say, the coordinators of the programs. And there is one thing which some of us have realized, other not. They haven't realized yet, which I would say is the juridic and financial guarantees. Because rules are changing during this project and maybe after this project, and they go backwards. So some actions that we are taking now, which are legal or we are right, they in the future they can be challenged, saying, okay, we change the rules, and then we have to explain, and we have to write reports and another reports and another reports. This is something which is I would say in some aspects what my colleagues more complain about. It's the things that is a pain for us. This is a big pain, and despite the fact that some of them have some technical support from the staff of the university, most of them, they don't have. So what are the consequences? I would say that the main consequence, and I hope that this really becomes a reality, that in some of the programs, some of the graduate courses, which didn't have strong international connections, that they keep the international connections that they are developing or they are going to develop during this program. And the ones who have the international connections, that they make them more strong, and they keep sending students, and more, that we start to receive students from abroad to our programs. This is a big challenge for us, because this is a real internationalization. When we bring our students from abroad, when we bring academics from abroad, and also we send our academic abroad to participate in a research or to teach and so on. And that is basically the main challenge that in our group we have. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Gregorio. And now I'd like to give the floor to Professor Dashamir Hodsa. Professor Dashamir is also one of the founding fathers let's say that, of this project, and also took part of the management group after the start of our project. So you have the floor.
Não te escutamos, da Chamier.
Professor da Chamã está nos ouvindo? Seu microfone para nós não aparece. E a apresentação teria que aumentar e propagar layout. Só um instante que o professor está fazendo a troca do microfone e continuaremos com as atividades de hoje em breve.
Boa tarde, prezados. Estamos aguardando o retorno do professor Delchamil. Estou tentando entrar em contato com ele aqui, mas não tive sucesso. Eu vou continuar tentando aqui. Em breve já retornaremos, tá bom? Desculpas aí pelo imprevisto, né?
Bom, apresento a professora Jussara, então, para fazer sua apresentação, enquanto o professor Delchamil tenta resolver o problema de conexão dele. Por favor, professora Jussara.
Ok, professor Hugo, obrigado, boa tarde. Vou inserir aqui a apresentação, só um momento. Eu estou representando a área temática de saúde humana, onde participam 6 subprojetos na nossa área, envolvendo os programas de pós-graduação em enfermagem, saúde coletiva, educação física, engenharia de alimentos, bioquímica, farmácia, assistência farmacêutica. A reflexão que nós fizemos foi sobre o futuro da internacionalização, focado mais para as questões da área da saúde, que é a área de desenvolvimento do projeto. Deixa eu ver como é que ele passa aqui. De um modo geral, as questões colocadas em termos de entraves e desafios para o desenvolvimento da internacionalização na universidade é uma preocupação, digamos, de tempo, né, na história da educação superior no mundo, com atividades já desenvolvidas em períodos bem remotos, né, na nossa história. No Brasil, o desenvolvimento da internacionalização tem adotado critérios de avaliação a partir do próprio processo de avaliação pela CAPES e inclui a mobilidade internacional com a promoção de conferências sobre educação e o desenvolvimento de atividades de internacionalização. Dentre as tendências atuais, nós temos observado a importância das práticas de uma educação transnacional a partir principalmente da vivência agora, no período da pandemia de Covid-19, nós temos tido a possibilidade de valorizar, né, as questões relacionadas à internacionalização no âmbito da pesquisa, uma vez que ela nos possibilitou o desenvolvimento e o compartilhamento de conhecimentos sobre processos de tratamento, de cuidado e de cura de inúmeras situações de saúde em tempo recorde e com a participação de instituições e pesquisadores de todo o mundo, permitindo o desenvolvimento de forma extremamente rápida de procedimentos e processos de atenção à saúde, né? Então, esse processo de internacionalização no âmbito da saúde humana, ele pode contribuir com o desenvolvimento de tecnologias e inovação no âmbito do cuidado, do tratamento, do desenvolvimento de projetos e recursos conjuntos que permitem, para muito além da mobilidade, a participação e a organização de cursos e eventos, a celebração de cotutelas, de dupla titulação e coorientações que permitem uma formação e um aperfeiçoamento profissional para o desenvolvimento da área do cuidado humano de um modo bastante amplo e importante, considerando a complexidade da atenção à saúde que a sociedade atual enfrenta.
Excuse me, professor Jussara.
Oi.
Oi, está passando a sua versão em português. Eu gostaria que a senhora parasse um pouco para poder nos colocar a sua versão em inglês.
Ah, pois não. Pode ser, sim.
Já um minutinho, por favor, que nós não falamos com a produção, falha nossa. Só um minuto. Ele já está colocando, tá?
Tá.
I want to apologize. It was supposed to be an English text instead. So just a few minutes, we are going to change it.
Okay.
Strategy. There is no alignment with international agreements and ongoing political processes. For example, no alignment to the efforts towards a global pact for the environment. There's certainly no mechanisms of ensuring effective implementation, as you know. SDGs are pure.
Pode colocar, Pinho, a gente vai esperando passar e depois, quando chegar no contexto da expansão, a gente para. Pode ir colocando. So he's going to start from the beginning, the text in English, the English text, and when we get to this point, we restart. Ok, Jussara? Então, quando chegarmos na tua parte...
Perfeito.
Backed up by some form of decision-making power. We in New Zealand just adopted and have discussed what we call an UN upgrade project. Briefly to mention here as well. A week ago, we presented our UN upgrade project. If you're interested, let me know. I sent you a copy of this so-called discussion paper. And we discussed it with members of the New Zealand government in an effort to ask New Zealand to take some leadership towards the UN reform. And what we do mean by UN reform, among others.
I'm sorry, I was supposed to warn him, but my internet fell down and I couldn't. So here it is. So you can launch it, and then we restarted from the part she was. So you can read it if you want.
The SDGs or with some kind of decision-making power in whatever way. So that is an issue, but I won't be focusing just today on number 3 here. There is no
isso vai por si mesmo, né, Pinho?
priority goal. There's of course no definition for sustainable development, which is notorious. It's much needed, but there's never reach a consensus. So I want to speak on the need for defining ecological sustainability as a priority goal. Next, please, Amy. Yeah, this is the model we have in mind. We had a wonderful workshop in Siena within our ecological.
Leila, could you help me and Josara where she was? So it has been already said, okay?
October last year, where we sort of identified this as the right model to adopt and to to think through. From the boundary modeling system.
Sorry.
Where we basically can see immediately what the basis of it all is. It's called here the biosphere, let's call it the Earth system, and then society with it associated.
I think pouquinho mais, né, Jussara?
Sim. Eu penso que pode passar a gravação que está ali, porque se eu for falar junto não vai ser.
Ou devo cortar o
vídeo?
Devo passar o vídeo sem áudio? Não sei se eu consigo cortar o áudio.
Pode passar o vídeo só, Alexandre. Fica bem, não tem problema.
Ok. E continuo desse mesmo ponto? Ou devo...
Sim. Não, pode ser.
Ok, então. Estou tentando recarregar o vídeo.
Ele está parado. Ficou sem som.
Voltou o texto?
O Alexandre...
Estou tentando voltar. Não está querendo voltar da play. Só desde o início.
Então, coloque.
Não sei o que acontece. Parece que está rodando, mas não sai som.
Alexandre, não tem som, é só um letreiro. Agora é só passar isso em frente para ela poder continuar falando. É por isso que não tem som.
Tem os trechos com som, outros sem. Vou deixar, então, em 3 minutos, que é onde a gente parou. Para mim, está sem som.
Não tem som, não é para ter som.
E da onde entra esse som? De vez em quando está entrando um som que eu não sei de onde vem.
Esse som acho que é background da professora Cristiane. Acho que a Jussara pode ir falando em cima, né?
Tá ok, então. Tá ok. Eu vou falando, se o som voltar, a gente vê. Então, no âmbito da saúde mundial, a Organização Mundial de Saúde tem desenvolvido programas de cooperação internacional em diversos países. A parceria entre centros colaboradores fornece à organização consultorias especializadas, de forma que se consiga cumprir os objetivos da Agenda da Saúde Mundial. Nesse sentido, a internacionalização mostra-se como um elemento de consolidação para a área, na medida em que são viabilizadas políticas de atuação em rede, formação de redes inovadoras de pesquisa e de pós-graduação, tanto regionais quanto nacionais e internacionais, estimulando a cooperação entre pesquisadores, diminuindo desigualdades regionais na oferta e no desempenho dos sistemas de saúde dos países envolvidos. Estudos recentemente divulgados têm apontado o desafio da ciência da saúde no sentido de dar conta da necessidade de formar doutores com habilidades de pesquisadores que se equiparem aos dos melhores centros de pesquisas internacionais e sejam capazes de trabalhar em parcerias com estudiosos, tanto nacionais quanto internacionais. A internacionalização na área da saúde torna-se, portanto, relevante por incentivar medidas de solidariedade e de apoio ao incremento da pesquisa por meio da criação e fortalecimento de linhas e grupos de pesquisa com cursos de pós-graduação em prol de uma sociedade com possibilidades de desenvolvimento de protocolos de promoção da saúde, tratamento e reabilitação de agravos, além de possibilitar que as ações de atenção à saúde sejam realizadas por profissionais melhor qualificados. Assim, a internacionalização da universidade, quando projetada em prol do desenvolvimento acadêmico, da colaboração interinstitucional e guiada pelo referencial da educação crítica e emancipatória, pode contribuir para o desenvolvimento de uma ciência que se empenhe para o bem da humanidade. A internacionalização também pode contribuir para a saúde humana utilizando seus recursos e suas potencialidades, tanto no ensino quanto na pesquisa e na extensão, fundamentadas sobre o referencial de que precisamos pensar nos processos educativos não como mera reprodução do conhecimento, transmissão de informações, mas como um processo de emancipação dos sujeitos envolvidos, profissionais e usuários. Num contexto em que o conteúdo científico produzido por pesquisadores em diferentes lugares do mundo é imediatamente disponibilizado para grandes parcelas da população acadêmica, ampliam-se os locais onde obter as informações e conhecimentos necessários para a tomada de decisões clínicas e populacionais mais efetivas e rápidas. A próxima geração de pesquisadores capazes de extrair, sintetizar e aplicar o conhecimento já está requisitando a formação de redes de pesquisas com foco na qualidade da produção científica. Na atual conjuntura brasileira, cada vez mais esse processo de internacionalização do conhecimento tem sido financiado pelos próprios pesquisadores, com custos cada vez mais difíceis de serem suportados por indivíduos ou por pequenos grupos de investigações acadêmicas. Desse modo, a internacionalização de nossas universidades torna-se um desafio permanente, no sentido de promover, sobretudo, uma expansão qualitativa do corpo de pesquisadores, enfatizando a mobilidade internacional de docentes e discentes e a produção científica de qualidade e impacto na realidade social. As dificuldades para implementar esse processo incluem aspectos como a seleção de projetos vinculados às demandas contemporâneas internacionais e integrados aos desafios da área da saúde, superar as restrições do idioma, encontrando formas de vencer a escassez de recursos e a falta de validação externa do que produzimos. Dentre as estratégias para superar os desafios contemporâneos da internacionalização, recomenda-se parcerias mais efetivas entre os pesquisadores nacionais e internacionais. Empenho em aprofundar a análise e a discussão dos resultados das pesquisas, assim como explicitar as implicações destes resultados nas diferentes conjunturas, de modo que nossos produtos sejam mais atrativos e pertinentes internacionalmente. As estratégias que podem auxiliar na superação destes desafios incluem o incremento da comunicação pessoa a pessoa, maiores investimentos na infraestrutura e profissionalização do trabalho, realizado pelos pesquisadores e suas equipes técnicas, incluindo a capacitação e valorização num processo de retroalimentação permanente. O incremento e a valorização da participação de estudantes de todos os níveis em projetos de pesquisa e extensão, o incentivo e a prática do consumo da leitura científica sem limite de idiomas desde o início da formação acadêmica, a adoção de políticas que dinamizem as oportunidades de intercâmbios internacionais pelas instituições de ensino superior, são outras possibilidades ou necessidades para que consigamos desenvolver efetivamente as ações de internacionalização. O print certamente é uma possibilidade de minimizar estes desafios, contribuindo para a construção, implementação e consolidação de planos estratégicos de internacionalização das universidades brasileiras, estimulando a formação de redes de pesquisas internacionais com vistas a aprimorar a qualidade da produção acadêmica. Por último, mas não menos importante, destaca-se que a internacionalização precisa ser compreendida como um objetivo na universidade como um todo, e não apenas como um simples intercâmbio de estudantes e docentes com o exterior. Assim, as ações acadêmicas envolvendo as atividades fim da universidade, ensino, pesquisa e extensão, são tão importantes quanto as ações de gestão, que dão suporte e são o meio para as atividades de internacionalização acontecerem. Se faz necessário que os gestores estejam também comprometidos com a internacionalização das instituições, visto que são eles que precisam difundir em todos os níveis e atividades da universidade e de forma abrangente as estratégias de ampliação e fortalecimento das relações exteriores por meio de cooperações estratégicas. O professor Gregório há pouco mencionava a necessidade de recebermos estudantes. Esse processo exige que as nossas universidades tenham condições de oferecer a estes estudantes estrangeiros que venham para a nossa instituição condições de permanência com moradias, com apoio, com equipamentos tecnológicos e consolidando esse processo de desenvolvimento da internacionalização, onde as nossas universidades possam, além de mandar seus estudantes para o exterior, receber nos seus cursos de pós-graduação estudantes das instituições parceiras estrangeiras. É um desafio que se coloca para nós neste momento e estamos fazendo todo o nosso esforço para conseguirmos superá-lo. Obrigada.
Acho que a professora Cristiane passou para mim a coordenação. Então, vamos dar continuidade. Professor Dachamir.
Can you guys hear me now? Yes?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. Well, nice to see you again, and thanks for the opportunity to talk to you guys. Sorry about the technical issues. I'd like to focus my presentation in how to measure internationalization. I belong to the Material Science and Engineering program, as well as the graduate program in Chemical Engineering. So I'm kind of twice engineer, so I like numbers, and I like to show you guys some ways to measure how good are we right now in terms of internationalization. It's just a kind of suggestion in ways to measure our progress. So I based my presentation in some documents which are available. Maybe some of you guys know. There's this document from the National Association of International Education from the US. I recommend that. And there is also this other report from the European Association for International Education, where we can see, for instance, some inputs or outputs which are quantifiable. For instance, here I highlighted two of them. The number or proportion of faculty members with international experience or expertise could be one measurement, or the number of publications per faculty co-authored with international partners, just like the way Professor Pacheco has shown us before. So how can we learn of our experience, and how can we analyze the numbers that we have? For instance, again, just like Professor Pacheco showed us, our university stands out in the latest World University rankings from the Times Higher Education World University Ranking. We are right now among the top 5, or eventually top 3. It depends on how you count. For instance, in Brazil, here we can see, I don't know if you guys can see my notations here. Just a minute. Look, we are in this area down here from number 600 to number 800. So is virtually the same points, the same rank that we have together with the Federal University of Minas Gerais, Rio Grande do Sul. So they are together with us. And as a matter of fact, there is at least 3 more which have the same ranking just as us. So we can see ourselves right now as top 3 or top 5 or top 8, whatever, in Brazil. And what we can see here is that our numbers are relatively good, and a lot of criteria which are used, including teaching, research, citations, and industry income. We have, in this case, an evaluation of the international outlook, in which we are, well, a little bit behind comparing to the average of this top 5 universities in Brazil. And let's have a look, how is it evaluated. So again, we have like 30% of this grade is related to teaching, another 30% research, and citations stand for the rest of the 30%, and actually the rest is the international outlook, 7.5, and the industrial income, 2.5. Let's have a closer look in the international outlook, which is divided into 3 parts. 2 of them are related to the proportion of international students or staff, which corresponds to the ability of this university to attract people, meaning students, undergrads, postgrads, and faculty staff. And as I mentioned before, the international collaboration is measured. In this case, there are alternative ways to do it, but they do it this way, like the proportion of the university total publication to have at least 1 international co-author. I think these data are collected directly from the Scopus database, just like Professor Pacheco showed us before. So how does it look like along the time? I think we have to see where we are right now towards the future. So we need to see where we are to see or to predict where we are going to. So in this case, I want to compare those numbers from the Times Higher Education since the beginning. Actually, they started to analyze those data in 2011. Brazil was included in the ranking just in 2016. So from this moment on, the number of institutions of universities in Brazil has grown up from 17 to 52. That's the number today. And the ranking of our university, UFSC, in Brazil has varied from 10 and then down to 16. In the last 2 years, that's good news, we are the top, under the top 5 in Brazil, just like I showed before. So this corresponds in the world. In the beginning, we were like between 600 and 800, and then we got a little bit down during this period, 2018 and 19, and finally we got back to the same ranking area. So this is the corresponding overall grades, and the numbers, the historical numbers related to teaching are have a trend to increase from 26 to 29. This is not the topic, but that's a positive issue. Research is practically the same, but with a slight trend to increase. And then I would like to emphasize that the number of citations increased from 14 to 56 in the last year. In the last 2 years, this increased a lot. And I think that's eventually not a coincidence. It's practically the time that we started to adapt or to develop the CAPES print at UFSC. I think it could be accounted as a good result from that point on. The industry income, which is here, has varied a lot. Actually, it has like a top in 2017, and then it went back to 42.2 in the last evaluation. But the focus here is this internationalization. So the good news is we are improving. And that's a very clear trend from 21 at the very beginning. At every year that we have been evaluating, there is an increase in this international outlook. So it recalls, at least in this case, the criteria that are being used by the Times Higher Education related to the amount of international students, and I think mainly the international collaboration in terms of publications. So this is good news. But here we are basically comparing ourselves to ourselves. So that's our improvement. Maybe we should also have a look around. For instance, in Latin America, the criteria are basically the same, but the grades, the weights are slightly different. So if you see here, for instance, the amount relative to teaching is different. There used to be, I think, 30, 30, 30. Here is 36, 34, and 20 for research and citations, respectively. But the international outlook and the industry income are about the same, exactly the same. So 7.85 is the measure or the weight of the international outlook, and the proportion, the internal proportion of this criteria in this point are exactly the same. So it's fair to compare us with our companion universities in Latin America. In this area, the University of Chile, the Pontifical Catholic University of Chile, PUC Chile, is the #1. The first two in Brazil are USP in São Paulo and Unicamp in Campinas, and we stand out as number 9, as Professor Pacheco also showed before, in Latin America. So again, that should be and is in fact very good news. We have numbers which are comparable in terms of overall evaluation. And citations, we stand for instance, better than the Brazilian universities in this subject. Industry income is not so good. It could be improved, as well as research for some reason. And teaching is very good. I will show you later on, which is our classification. So what interests us here in particular is this is not so good news. The international outlook, in comparing, for instance, with the number 1 in Latin America, which is PUC Chile, is about a half. So here a summary, and that's my last slide. We are definitely in the top 20 Latin American universities, considering any of these criteria, but international outlook. So we are number 9 in the overall grade, number 7 in teaching, 18 in citations, 19 in industry income, and number 20 in research. But only according to the same criteria that are used for the whole universities, the whole group of universities in the world, we are just number 81 in Latin America out of 166. I think this is a kind of red light, or at least yellow light. That's a warning that there's still, we're improving comparing to ourselves and eventually to the most of our universities in Brazil and in Latin America. But these universities are still ranking better in relation to those criteria. So I would like to put this in discussion and collaborate for and somehow for us to improve also in this part of the evaluation of maybe of the most famous ranking of universities that we have so far. So I finish here my presentation. Thanks so much for your attention, and I think we might have some space at the end for some discussion. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Professor Dashamir. I think your presentation was very clear, so let's clarify the status we have, and also that we are taking the right path to internationalization. I want to see your presentation next year, because I trust we are going to be better than we were this year. So I'd like to give the floor to one of our international members from the management group, Professor Pedro Álvares. Professor Pedro Álvares is from George R. Brown. Is the George R. Brown Professor of Civil and Environmental Engineering at Rice University, where he also serves as founding director of the NSF Engineering Research Center on Nanotechnology Enabled Water Treatment, where UFSC participates on it. Professor Álvares received the B. Engineering degree in Civil Engineering from McGill University and MS and PhD degrees in Environmental Engineering from the University of Michigan. He has won many prizes, but it has to be highlighted the Clark Prize, that is widely known as the American Nobel Prize for Water. Also, his induction to NAE with about 1 in 7 engineers get inducted. Well, Professor Alvarez, I am very happy to welcome you here, and also I'm very happy to be introduced to you. So it's really an honor to have you among us, and give you the floor to your presentation.
Thank you, Cristiane. I hope you can hear me. The pleasure and the honor is mine. I have been a long friend of UFSC, and I am very happy to be a part of your International Steering Committee and have an opportunity to share personal experiences and suggestions to build strong collaborations. Maybe Alexandre can load up my slides, but in the meantime, let me say that I have been interested in international collaboration since I was a very young assistant professor. First, because it is important to prepare students for an increasingly global workplace. And secondly, because international collaboration in my field, which is environmental science and engineering, is vital to have a healthy environment, a healthy economy, and a healthy society. In other words, it is essential for the triple bottom line or sustainable development. Can I have those slides, Hugo? When they show up, the slides, because I don't want to delay you. I know you're...
I'm asking Alexandre to load up your slides.
Yeah. Let me continue, and then the slides will catch up. Yeah?
Pedro...
Os slides foram enviados como? Que eu não identifiquei.
Well, he has only the video, not the slides.
I sent him the diapositivos too, but I will. Do you want me to try again?
Well, you want me to share? You have it with you? Can you upload it, or you need us to upload it?
I don't know how to upload with this software.
Oh.
Would you like to play the video then, and then I can just answer questions? It's up to you. I mean,
maybe you should send him again. Is that possible to send him? Do you have his mail?
No, I don't. I get 200 emails every day, so I will email Alexandre.
Please, Alexandre, put your email here. I think I have it.
Just tell me one letter by letter, and then the computer will remember.
You mean maybe Hugo? Hugo, don't you have Hugo's mail?
No, I have the presentation, but I don't have the presentation. I don't have Alexandre's.
Hugo, I just send it to you right now. Okay, so, by email. I just send it to you.
To me, it's okay.
Take forward to Alexandre because I don't have his email.
No, Hugo is going to take care of this.
Okay, thank you.
Hugo, can you send it to Alexandre?
Alexandre, por favor, bota...
Oi, na escuta. Eu não tenho acesso aos arquivos que são subidos ao sistema.
Ah, então eu
para o Hugo, então. Mas o Hugo vai ter que subir o arquivo.
Tá, vamos.
Então, passa, por favor, a permissão para o Hugo.
Ok, o Hugo está com o apresentador agora.
Espera aí, só um minutinho que eu tenho que abaixar o arquivo aqui, gravar, guardar ele aqui e já... Eu posso compartilhar a tela, né?
Isso, compartilha a tela.
É melhor eu compartilhar do que fazer o upload.
Sim.
Peraí. Onde está a apresentação?
Tá indo, Hugo. Tá indo bem.
Vou chegar lá. Ah, apaguei ela, peraí. Ah, meu Deus.
Isso. Você consegue aumentar, Hugo?
But this is the voice. Oh, that's the voice presentation, Hugo. It's not the slide.
Filme.
This is the only one that I have, Pedro.
I emailed you just 2 minutes ago the slides, if you prefer. But if you want to just play the video, it's okay by me.
Pedro, may I ask you something? If you have some more time, just a few more, I can give the floor to Leila, and meanwhile, Hugo can manage it better.
Yeah, unfortunately, I had, you know how it is here. We have very tight schedules. My center, I ran 4 universities with it, so I have a meeting and a hard stop in 15 minutes. But that's why, in case this happened, I provided a video.
I see.
I intended to participate in person, but I know how things happen in Latin America because I am Latin American myself. So you have my video as a backup. I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries. So may we, because where is Hugo? Is he still there? I don't know. I think he's not there anymore. No.
Cristiane, let's
lost the connection.
Let's just pass the video, and Pedro can talk together with
yes,
me.
Yes, please, Alexandre, just turn on the video. Liga o vídeo, Alexandre. Pode ligar
o vídeo para passar o vídeo.
Oi?
Vou passar o vídeo do professor Pedro, então.
Isso, pode passar.
Iniciando.
My apologies, Professor Pedro. He's going to show the video, and then you can also make some comments to us. Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's better. I'm doing a lot of things here.
Pode passar, o Alexandre. Tranquilo, vai passar o vídeo.
Sim, eu já solicitei para passar o vídeo, o sistema está carregando.
Tá bem.
Para mim não apareceu o vídeo ainda.
Para mim não também.
Eu já passei outras vezes do Vimeo, mas dessa vez está demorando para carregar do Vimeo. Vou parar e vou tentar de novo. Carregando novamente.
Maybe we can start with Professor Pedro saying something to us, and after we stop and watch the video you sent. What if you start talking to us?
Yes,
more than the video. Yeah.
All right. So my first recommendation, let me give you the bottom line, is that I think you should consider the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals as an inclusive umbrella, as a platform for international collaboration. And this makes sense not only because of the growing need for action in this domain, but also because it offers great opportunities for leverage, for funding, for example, from governments, from philanthropic foundations, from trade and industrial organizations. I think that we should and take a leadership role in helping achieve the Sustainable Development Goals through enhanced and sustained collaboration in science and technology. And I also wanted to share with you some lessons that I have learned over decades of doing international work. Number one is that leadership is taken, is not given. So you need to identify and promote your natural leaders. Number two, you need focus. You need to resist dilution of effort by spreading too thin. This means you need to pick countries that it makes sense to work with. And within those countries, pick specific partners that you can build specific and mutually beneficial relationships with. We at RISE decided to work with India, China, and Brazil. And within Brazil, we picked UFSC, not only because it's a beautiful place, but because we had complementary strengths and good relationships. This all started by playing soccer with Henry Corsail when we were students. And then I met Hugo and Dachimir, and we actually built a lot of good things. We hosted, for example, in Praia dos Ingleses, an international conference that was made a lot of noise around the world with Hugo and I chaired. Then the third point is you need to develop a shared vision that is compelling for both intellectual and practical reasons. And the vision is the main magnet that attracts talent and the glue that keeps the team together. Finally, it is important to have a value creation. Good. Maybe I can advance, no? Well,
yes, please. Yes, please.
I don't know how to advance, though. It doesn't allow me. You will have to advance to one.
Okay.
This is a
I'll do it for you. You just tell me I don't.
Sorry, that's a different talk.
It's a different talk.
No, that's about nanotechnology. Let me keep talking, all right?
I was enjoying this one. I was taking notes about what you were saying.
What I'm saying is more important. I was saying developing a value proposition. Value creation is very important. And there is a very simple formula that I call NABC, all right? The N starts with need. You need to identify a problem to solve, and which is more important than trying to find a problem for your solutions. The A means that you need to have a distinctive approach based on sound science. The B means benefits. Let's make sure that the benefits exceed the costs. And C means competition. You need to consider competing alternatives, competing solutions, and why yours is better when you develop your value proposition and ask the government for that. And I think that there are 5 things that are needed to enhance synergism when you collaborate internationally. One is a common agenda or vision. 2, shared measurements. 3, mutually reinforcing activities. 4, continuous collaboration and a backbone organization. So at RISE, for example, we have an office called Brazil at RISE that helps promote and expand academic and cultural mobility between students and researchers, and they help us fund. So when I go visit Florianopolis, I'm funded by this office, and we seek industrial collaboration. It's very important, again, to find industries that are helping to fund this. So the good news is that your Minister of Science and Technologies, Marcos Pontes, the astronaut, I've had lunch with him a couple of times over the past month, and he comes to Houston a lot. And it seems that he's very interested in promoting relationships between RISE and Brazilian industry, large transnational industries, primarily in areas of advanced materials, material sciences, and also computational sciences, which are strengths at RISE. So this is an area where we can bring in UFSC and triangulate as well, because I know you have strengths in that. I mean, I've been talking to Dachimir and to Hugo a lot about building around these spires of excellence. But other areas of collaboration where I know UFSC has strengths relevant to sustainable development goals are biodiversity and ecology conservation, clean energy and biofuels, critical materials that are important, not only because they are rare elements, but also environmental health, air pollution, and water security, and so on. I also wanted to convey that there are some barriers, but also solutions to international collaboration. I'm just going to touch on 3 barriers. One is that we have limited mechanisms for support, for funding joint efforts with global impact. And so new mechanisms are needed, but the good news is that many philanthropic foundations and organizations have become important financial contributors to foreign aid. Also, many developmental agencies such as USAID are seeking to become conveners to coordinate and leverage this non-governmental support. And also, many multinational private companies are increasingly interested in joining international innovation ecosystems, such as the one that I ran, the Newt Center, that has collaborations with many countries. Second point is that some collaborations are prevented or slowed down by concern about sharing data, potentially sensitive data that could pose risk to intellectual property or even national security. So the funding agencies need to develop bilateral guidelines on data sharing that apply to sustainable development goals research. Also, many publishers, publication companies, and journals need to consider facilitating open data access to encourage data sharing and hence promote collaboration. And finally, is the IP, intellectual property issue. We did bilateral agreements and guidelines on IP rights on research and commercialization related to sustainable development goals. Now, again, our universities can push a little bit this, but there has to be pull. In other words, financial support from big pockets. And you need to sell that value proposition. And it is important to clarify what the benefits are. And I think that the benefits are many for many different stakeholders. For us, people in academia, international collaborations provide access to new talent, test beds, new methods and technologies, and greater education and workforce development opportunities. For industry, these collaborations generally translate in access to new markets and new business opportunities. For governments, they help grow domestic innovation capabilities and associated socioeconomic benefits that I listed in a table that I included in my presentation. And for the public, this accelerates the development of solutions to sustainable development challenges, and it also enhances public service and social welfare. So the final points that I wanted to make, I had three conclusions, okay? The first one, there you go. Maybe we can go to the very last slide. And you can advance them, but the slide, please. Oh, yeah. Anyways, the three conclusions, yes, thank you, is that scientific collaboration is really a very effective means for diplomacy, for diplomatic relations, as well as for generating knowledge that benefits not only US and Brazil, but also the rest of the world. The second point is that we are joined by a common future because we face common global challenges, including those listed here: climate change, public health crises, population growth, biodiversity loss, increasing water insecurity, and so on. And unfortunately, the prospects of advancing to sustainable development goals was significantly undermined by the COVID-19 pandemic. But the US and Brazil have a great opportunity to work together to benefit not only our own people, but also the entire world by enhancing sustainable development, and proactive efforts are needed to seize this opportunity. And I remain accessible and eager to work with you. I know that UFSC has a lot of agility and enthusiasm to move towards these important goals. So let me stop there and see if you have any questions or comments.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Professor Alvarez. I hope we can multiply this conversation throughout the year. I think it's very useful to exchange ideas. One thing I must say is that since this year, the beginning of this year, we launched the institutional plan for the whole university, and our graduate studies planning is to be sustained upon the SDGs. So it's part of our institutional document of planification for the next 4 years. And then I'm very happy to hear your proposal, because it goes on in line with what we are doing, and I'm very happy to share it with you. So I don't want to talk much more because we are slightly late. So I'd like to introduce Professor Barbara Nauworth. I hope it's like that we say. Nauworth. Sorry about it. Would you please speak out her name, please? Nauworth?
Yeah. Yes, Nawrot.
So,
good evening.
So,
for me, it's after 10 in the evening already, but no problem. I prepared small presentation.
Okay.
Which in the hands of Arthur. Can you please put my or I can do it by myself, unless this.
Arthur is going to do this.
Okay, but
also I'm also taking the opportunity and also inviting you to come here more times and to exchange with us your experience. I hope next year we can have a better opportunity to meet and to chat with each other.
Okay, thank you for this invitation. Unfortunately now, now is COVID time, so let's stay home. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be among these noble professors, and I'm really glad. I was listening to some lectures during yesterday and today's sessions, and I am really surprised how well you identify your problems and how clear pathways you draw. So I think that slowly you can move forward. So and I wish you all the best. And now I show you just very simple presentation which I prepared. What are the possibilities in Europe? So as Christina has mentioned already, yeah, I'm since about 20 years working for EU, doing the reviewing of project, different proposals, working as an expert, but also doing some checking of how projects are already done or mid-term evaluations of the project. So, and during one of such visits to the group located in Italy, I met a professor from Brazil, Professor Tania Beatriz Pasa and Kreciński, which is a really Polish name, and she actually invited me to be here in this audience, and so. My expertise, as you mentioned, is the bioorganic chemistry. Can I have the second slide? And I'm working in the branch of the Polish Academy of Sciences. Polish Academy of Sciences consisting of maybe about 80 different institutes. Contains also our center, which is the Center of Molecular and Macromolecular Studies, and it's a rather interdisciplinary institute, about 200 researchers, and we are having divisions of organic chemistry, bioorganic chemistry, which I am heading, polymer chemistry and physics, and structural chemistry. And just very shortly, I didn't write here this, particular subjects which are working, but my division is focused mostly this expertise in nucleic acids, different modifications, different analogs. We are working to get effective inhibitors of gene expression, effective inhibitors of proteins. So modified nucleosides, nucleotides, antiviral, antibacterial, anti-cancer compounds. So this is the one of our main topics, but also we are interested in the protein chemistry, and we are looking for the mechanism of activity of enzymes interacting with DNA, RNA. We are also working on epitranscriptomics, which is my favorite topic of my group. Here is the tRNA. I do not have this arrow, but no. Could you please come back? But here is tRNA molecule, and we are working on. We are trying to figure out why nature introduced particular modifications to get the certain function of tRNA. But anyway, we have several possibilities to collaborate in different topics, and our, let's say, polymer chemistry and physics is on the very high level also, and they produce different polymers which have multiple applications, like industrial applications, but also required applications for other issues. So now can I have another next one? Yes. So just when I was thinking about international collaborations, I just wanted to show you just four recent collaborations which we made in 2020 with two groups in the States, and also in Brazil, and also in France. And just to how we made this. So some collaborations are made by personal, contacts, and then some, synergy in a scientific activity, and also some our expertise, which is complementary to the expertise of our partners. So they invite us for collaboration, and it is Professor Marvin Carruthers from Boulder, University of Colorado, which really invited us due to our expertise in synthesis of specifically modified oligonucleotides, pisterol defined to get improved, better activity inhibitors of gene expression, so-called therapeutic nucleic acids. And the University of Minnesota we started to do the joint project on crystal structure of human heat proteins, which are identified oncogenes. And very interestingly, also, we got contact with the University of Sao Paulo. We got one of my colleagues got the letter from Professor Dr. Jose Antonio Sanchez from medical clinics of this university, who asked us to accept the visit of his PhD student, which is her name is Marina Pasos Torre-Alba. And she came to us for 4 months. She trained to isolate exosomes, these extracellular vesicles, which are the bodies which transfer from cell to cell, but they also carry some message. And there were specific cell line, which was taken from cutaneous T-cell lymphoma with HTLV1 infection. And Marina did a lot of work in our lab, and now the joint paper will be from this. So as it was shown before, the internationalization is the important factor to sell well the paper when you have the joint authorship. So actually we have some contacts, scientific contacts with Brazil. And also this year I was able to join, we were able to establish international research network within a project which is dedicated to inflammation. And it is the project is carried out by CNRS and the University of Montpellier, but my group is really using our expertise to produce specific inhibitors of the STING protein, which is responsible for stimulation of interferon in the process of inflammation. So that's this part of scientific activity of our group. Our division, showing how we made the contacts, and this the international research network with a French partner. There are 13 groups from all over Europe, and we were invited because of our expertise in synthesis of this highly modified nucleotides. Can I have next slide? So. Now I would like to tell you a few words about possible international collaboration through European Union Science Hub. So European Union has a special institution which is called European Commission Science and Knowledge Service, which is dedicated to funding of scientific projects, but also for projects which are dedicated for training of especially young people, postdoctoral fellows, mostly postdoctoral fellows. Can I have a next slide? And one of the main ideas of this our European program is that we are open to the world. Means that that the European Committee wants to is established to have multiple collaborations with various partners, just to improve the international exchange. And here is the point: international cooperation, which on the next slide I would like to focus more in detail. This international cooperation, can you make the next slide? You will see this. Okay, strategic approach. Okay, so international cooperation is dedicated to partnership with EU countries, of course, between us, between countries of the European Community, but also international cooperation means with other partners. And now, can you give me? Yes, and among this strategic international relations, which were actually dedicated to the project, which this year is ending, so Horizon 2020, the Brazil was one of the countries which our project should focus on. So as you see, you have some possibilities to make contacts in Europe and to apply for funds to do research, to train students by this exchange between the EU and Brazil. Okay, thank you. Next slide. And one of the projects which which actually is offered to students from all over the world, is the postdoctorate training from so-called third countries, doing a training in EU states. The third countries means that they are countries which are not belonging to European Union and do not belong also to associated states. So associated states are European states which do not belong to EU but are closely to enter this our community. And one of this project is please, yeah. So one of this project, one of this this possibilities is so-called Maria Skłodowska-Curie action. So MSCA. This is Maria Skłodowska is Polish lady, so a Polish scientist and twice Nobel Prize winner. So of course all students and even children, students, school students know who is Maria Skłodowska-Curie. But anyway, the fellowships are very good for the postdoctorates who can apply for coming to Europe and training in very good groups. But for this, you have to have contacts at first with the professor who has this project and can agree to take care of the student, of the PhD student or postdoc fellow, and then they write the joint project. And there is also so-called global fellowship. To Maria Skłodowska-Curie International Individual Fellowship Global Fellowships means that these are fellowships which have two phases, and one phase is done in Europe and the other phase is done in another country and can be carried out in the third country. So means that also this can be really work in Brazil and then work in Europe. So that's for postdocs. Can I have another slide? And another project, which probably you know, Erasmus, because this is all over the world, but up to now, Erasmus was mostly dedicated to EU states, as you have on the left side on this picture, and then on the right side you see the partner countries, which is expected to be included during Erasmus Plus, and this Erasmus Plus is the project on the right side up. You have Erasmus Plus program for 2021-2027. So means that now starts another period of European community founding. The Horizon 2020 is finished, and now is another period, and you have this period in which other countries, so partner countries marked here in yellow, can apply for this exchange, and this is exchange for graduate students, so university students, not PhD students, maybe also PhD students, but not postdocs. So these are two programs which I would like you to focus, but in general, I gave the website for EU, for European Commission sites, and you can really look for projects. Can I have another slide? Yeah, here I just wanted to show you what are the 6 Commission priorities for the oncoming years, 2019-2024. So generally, it's there's problems of climate and Green Deal. The other one is so that it's called the Europe Fit for the Digital Age, connected with new generation of technologies. Can you have another? And then for others, so economy that works for the people, stronger Europe in the world, promoting our European way of life, and also new push for European democracy. So for the university, which is very diverse in the topics of research, you probably might find topics which could be proper for future collaboration. And the last slide, I would like to show you also that also in Poland we have a program which is called NAWA, which is NAWA. The program, which is founded by National Agency for Academic Exchange, and here are the projects. But this also is bilateral collaboration. So you have to have a partner in Poland, and then you both write a project, and then there are several different possibilities for long stays, or for short 6 months, or even shorter stays, and on various steps of career of the visitors. So it can be for postdocs, for senior researchers, for professors. So I just invite you to go or to make contact with me. Then I can really help to just to tell you on which site, and in English you can find descriptions. So that's all what I prepared for this short presentation. And there are some photos from my city. And thank you very much once more for invitation. I really could not understand what you want me to present. So I just thought, okay, I show possibilities for you, which are in our, in our region, let's say, of the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Barbara. So wonderful pictures. So I'd like to visit your town once.
Yeah, we can use one of the proposals which are in NAWA, and then organize some. But we have to have some complementary interest, in the research, because this. The main criteria which is evaluated.
Fantastic. Thank you very, very much. Well, I'd like to give the floor to Professor Diane Lilo Martin from the University of Connecticut, United States of America. She's a Board of Trustees Distinguished Professor of Linguistics at the University of Connecticut, and a Senior Scientist at Haskins Laboratories. She is an affiliated faculty member of the CTE of Brain and Cognitive Science, and a former fellow of the UConn Humanities Institute. Thank you very much for being here, and to present us your knowledge. Thank you.
Muito obrigada. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate being part of this group. Can you hear me okay? Okay. I will be able to keep my comments relatively brief, but I think it would be useful for me to make some comments about the side of the theme 1, or in general, the language and humanities and literacy kinds of domains that you have in your project, because that's where I do my own work, and that's where I have been involved in collaborations with people from UFSC for quite a number of years now. So I've been working with people from UFSC as I said, for about over 20 years. And we are doing research primarily that looks at the linguistic structure and acquisition of Brazilian Sign Language, which is called Libras, and American Sign Language, ASL, and how children who are born deaf acquire ASL or Libras, and how they learn both the sign language that is used in their environment, and in some cases also the spoken language that's used in their environment. For example, children who are exposed to both Portuguese and Libras, or English and ASL, and various other questions related to those domains. So that's the area of research that I've been involved in for quite some time with people from UFSC. It has been a very productive collaboration, very successful collaboration, because we've been able to obtain grant funding for these projects, a number of projects related to this topic, for example, from the National Institutes of Health and from the National Science Foundation, both in the US. And so we are, I think it's a good example of how it's the kind of project that can be externally funded from with a collaboration between researchers in the US and in Brazil. And it's also something that I want to point out that, relatively speaking, projects in languages and in literatures, for example, are often less expensive than other kinds of projects. So it's actually a good investment to support the development of international collaborative projects in this stream. Can be not that expensive in terms of supporting those projects, and the payoff might be good in terms of potentially getting grants, but also the publications and the other kinds of recognition that have been noticed and elaborated in the previous presentations. I learned a lot from those previous presentations, so I appreciated all of that as well. So in the type of international collaboration that I've been involved in, there have been exchanges of researchers, both having people come to the US and having people going to Brazil. And these visits have included long-term visits as well as short-term visits. So I'm sure these are the kinds of things you are already doing and hoping to continue to do. That is certainly something that can be expanded, and a way in which you can continue to support that kind of research. And of course, as a result of these projects, there's various publications that have been made. And I want to say that considering the great challenge that we have all faced this year with the pandemic, we've learned a lot about how to do things like this and work with each other remotely. And in the context of, again, at least for linguistic research, that's something that can be very successful. So we can do projects that involve, of course, meetings and discussions, but we can also collect data and do empirical studies through distance technology in ways that we hadn't really thought of before. But now that we've been forced to do it, there are a lot of new things that have opened up. So in the title of this section, looking at obstacles for international collaboration, I'm along with one of the previous presenters who changes the word obstacles to challenges, and says, okay, this is something that we can deal with. This is something we have to deal with, but we can overcome it. And I think that the pandemic is one of these examples where we really have a serious obstacle or challenge, but one of the positive things we have learned is how to use this kind of technology, and it will play a role in things that we do moving forward. It's not going to end, but hopefully the pandemic will end. But the use of the technology and the way that we can connect with people at a distance, I hope it's not going to end. I've mentioned in the domain of the challenges, I've mentioned the costs and the resources. That there are costs and resources needed, even in the language and humanities areas of research. But as I said, the costs tend to be somewhat less. And then again, especially when we use these remote connections. So I think that it's important to bear that in mind. I do want to also mention language. So I appreciate the fact that the presentations so far have accommodated English, and even in the case where the presentation was given in Portuguese, that there was an English translation made available. And I understand that this is a kind of a challenge that often requires a one-way change. So as an American who's a native English speaker, I recognize that we are often the ones who make everybody else adjust to us, which I think is not fair. But it's sort of what happens in the world, and it's important that we recognize that you have changed your way of doing things to accommodate the English speakers. And of course, that's something that needs to be maintained and supported for most of these international collaborations, even for people for whom English is not the native language of either party, as we've also seen in this discussion. So yeah, so I'm sure you're very well aware about the need for maintaining support for the participants in Brazil to participate in other places by, in many cases, by learning English or some other languages. In the area of sign language research that I'm involved in, American Sign Language is also sometimes used as a lingua franca, but there is also an international sign that a lot of people can develop rather quickly and are able to make use of. So this is another sort of way in which this line of research can turn something that is a challenge into an advantage. All right, I just want to say a few more words about how important international collaboration is. I don't think I really need to convince you. You are all very much invested in it, and I am very glad to see that. Certainly in the research in areas of language, it's crucial to do international studies. It's crucial to have comparisons across languages. It's crucial to understand about how culture contributes to the form of a language, the way a language is acquired, and as well as the way it's used by people. International collaboration is really, really fundamental in this area of research. So I think it's very important, specifically in this domain, but I'm sure also in other domains as well. In the study of languages, we need to learn from people who are doing approaching things in different ways, as well as understanding about the differences between languages. And in the domain of sign language research, it's so much more important, even so, because it's a very small field. And therefore, in order to find people that you can share research ideas with, and people who have similar approach, or people who are potentially good collaborators, you have to look beyond your local area. There just aren't enough researchers in this area to restrict yourself to your own country or a smaller domain. You need to look outside. And so, again, it's a good reason to support the use of projects such as the Print project in order to have support for this kind of international collaboration, and that leads to the possibilities for researchers and for graduate students as well, and for early career researchers. So this is another thing to keep in mind. We've talked a lot about what's available for the graduate students, and we know that the advanced and senior researchers are going to have some networks already in place, or some possibilities for funding for these kinds of projects. But we should also remember that the early career stage researchers may need a boost in this domain even more, and can benefit from it, and can bring new ideas all over the place. So I would like to promote that. And then one final group that can be promoted by this kind of a project that you have here. Again, given the line of work that I do, I want to commend you for the work that you're doing with deaf scholars and apply that to other scholars with disabilities that actually, I don't know how many of you know this, but UFSC has got a very, and Brazil in general, but UFSC has a very strong reputation in the sign linguistics field because of all the advances that you've done in providing educational opportunities for deaf people, and such a great department that has scholars and deaf scholars and scholars who are all communicating using Libris. It's world renowned, and so it's definitely something to be proud of and to continue to support in terms of the opportunities. In Brazil in general, and in UFSC in particular, you have things available for deaf people that nobody else has. Nobody else has the number of PhDs or the understanding about the role of Libris in the educational process for deaf PhDs, so or deaf students in general. So I really want to commend you on that particular point as well. Okay, so that's about all I wanted to say at this point. I know we're way late on the project and on the time scale as well, so I hope I didn't go over my time, but anyway, thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Professor Barano. You were perfect on time, and yeah, as I said to the previous one, I hope we can continue this talk and chat and exchange of information. The first year was very tough for us. It was the beginning. We expected the second year better, but the second year came with the COVID. So we are struggling still, but next year we are going to have a more air and do things easier. So we have two more presentations. I'd like to give the floor to, I don't know, this Enzo or Leila. Now I got confused.
It's me. We have a very
yes.
gentlemen here, and they said ladies first.
I give the floor to Leila Hayashi. Professor Leila Hayashi is also one who took part of this planning for the print project, and she's working on this project, very active, and in the area of sustainability. So please, Leila, you have the floor.
Thank you, Cristiane. It's a pleasure to be here with foreign guests. I learned, oh my God, I just unshare here. It was I learned a lot here, and so okay, we are okay, we're okay, okay. So because we are running out the time here, I will just, indeed, this is just a summarizing of what my group, the group of the team Environmental Sustainability discussed during these days about the print project. So
I think you should widen your screen and make it wider.
It's not wider yet? Okay, just a second. And now? It's okay?
Go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, okay. So about the possibilities of the print projects, of course, the main goal is making UFSC international, and it was a great experience to receive international students and professors here. Some of us offer international course. It was a great experience as well. We could expand our research network. Not only the first idea was have priority universities, but after all, we have more chance to expand in this network to all the institutions that are part of the print project together with the university, and not only the sub-projects. And also, of course, expanding our participation in international projects as Horizon 2020, for example, from European Union. Two of us already have this kind of project, and it has been amazing to have this experience. But of course, we have challenges, and some of them is very internal challenge. And I think my colleagues before talking a little bit about that. But one of the, I think it's crucial for me as a coordinator of one sub-project and most of us is the language proficiency certification tests. Until 2 years, until the beginning of the print project, maybe we had issue free of charge tests, and we don't have anymore. And this is a very complicated thing because our students live with the scholarships, and is a low amount of money, and sometimes they don't have a resource to pay these certification tests. Also, we don't have preparation courses for language proficiency certification, of course, free of charge or with low costs. But in the beginning of this workshop, I heard from the International Office of UFSC that they are trying to do something to help us on this. We face some problems with the scholarships for young scientists and PhDs because these young scientists or this everybody that are developing a PhD abroad, most of them are already involved in some projects. So it's very difficult to catch them and try to bring them to work with us. And even because of the low budget that we have now in Brazil. And the visiting professor in Brazil also, the availability is not, they are not available for long times, just short periods. And my experience was to have a visiting professor only for 15 days. And this is nothing if you are talking about collaboration. Also, we need professors training to increase the number of course staff in English to be international here in at UFSC, and increase the possibility for foreign students to study here with us. For that, we are far away of this goal for now, but we need to pursue this goal. Also, it was good to have equivalence of credits between UFSC and foreign universities, because sometimes we don't have this equivalence, and for cocktail, for example, it's very difficult to have an agreement. And the last main challenge, I think this is a crucial point, is the financial support for developing joint projects. The problem is that print CAPES is formulated only to the first step. So we make the contact, we start to elaborate projects with other institutions. But the thing is that when we are going to there for exchange, students or professors, most of the time we are just inserting a project that they already have, or we already have, and we are not able to develop something together. And I think this is the main point of challenge for internationalization of the university. And of course, I think somebody also tell this before, the CAP systems is incredible, complicated. We need to avoid repeated procedures over the time. CAPES is changing a lot of procedures, and all the time we need to follow up them. And sometimes we are overloading one technical person that is responsible for our print CAPES, and poor guy, he's just crazy about all the demands that we are presenting. So maybe this is not something that UFSC can fix, but maybe try to work together with CAPES and think what we can do to help this situation. So this is just a summarization of everything that everybody said before. And thank you for your attention. I will not take more time for this. Thank you.
So it's my time, I think.
Yeah,
if you can allow me to share my screen.
Go ahead, Enzo. Sorry, I didn't introduce you. Yes, we can hear you.
Just signposts when you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, I was asked to make a presentation with 10 minutes, talking about the possibilities, barriers, and consequences of the internationalization at UFSC. I will do my best to do it in 5 minutes so that we can have the closing ceremony. It was very good to hear all of the speeches and to see how the difficulties and the opportunities are similar among the different teams. Here I'm representing the team 5, Digital Transformation, Industry and Services 4.0. Specifically, I'm not the coordinator, but I'm the sub-coordinator of the project Encanto, which means analysis of distributed and automated manufacturing for customized items. We were taking part in the round table that took place before this one. We are a bit to blame because of the delay, so sorry for that. Basically, by providing the view of Team 5, I would like to first start showing some context. We are living in a very challenging time. We consider that we have to take into consideration some trends. And these trends we could list very briefly, but we have the globalization, we have migration, some environmental issues and social standards were discussed before here in this round table, demographic change, and specifically robotics, sensor technologies, artificial intelligence, and so on and so forth, which is very connected to the Team 5. So what else we have? We also have here to consider, I have to also, maybe due to late developments, governmental developments, and also the pandemic, we have a globalization that will go backwards. Is this a challenge for the internationalization of UFSC? It will be more difficult to internationalize. For sure, in 2020 it was, but 2021 maybe not. New barriers between companies, nations, and markets. This for sure, if these new barriers arise, we will have some trouble to send, to receive students, faculty, and so on and so forth. What is also very important to highlight that we have a trend for increasing radicalism. So lack of proper reasoning for exposing exposing ideas and so on. This is also something challenging and very difficult. This is a more general context. In a more specific context, we have to talk about the general idea or general situation where students and people in general are more focused on the short term, not willing to invest time to acquire technical and scientific training. This is one challenge that we face all the time in the undergraduate and the graduate courses for acquiring new students. So this is a very challenging point that I put as a challenge, and it's a context that we have to deal with. Sorry, but sometimes my screen is getting smaller and smaller. I prefer to be bigger. So what else? Specifically, when we talk about the fourth industrial revolution, that means the thematic of our Team 5, we are dealing with several technologies, the digital and the physical that are close together, connected networks, integration of production systems, data-driven decision makes, several things that always aim to improve and support industry competitiveness. But for achieving this competitiveness, we have several barriers that need to be faced. And one of the barriers is related to human resources. So we are working to overcome this barrier. The universities is working to overcome this barrier. This is also one important context to what we are doing in our projects. Very briefly, the last slide, I would say, we are at UFSC, when we talk about internationalization, we are in a very good situation, my point of view. We have excellent research, excellent and world-class research that is developed here at UFSC. We have graduate programs that are among the best in Brazil. This is also true. We have an interesting flow of outgoing and incoming students. I'm not saying that it's enough, but it's interesting. We have professors with remarkable contributions to different aspects of research, events, associations, editorial roles, publication, projects. We just saw this in the presentation from Professor Shamir. We have very good numbers, increasing numbers, and impressive if you see that UFSC is growing in the right direction. We have impactful research and relevant projects. So, in my point of view, we are in a good situation. But there are some challenges. There are some barriers that we have to face. And some of them were already mentioned here in this round table. First thing, fight for resources. We lack resources, and resources does not only mean money or grants and so on and so forth, but also students that are our main resource in my point of view. We have to attract, and we have to be attractive, by the way, we have to be attractive to the right students, the ones that will make the difference, that will contribute to the university development of science and technology. We have also, this was everywhere in the round table, bureaucratic challenges. Professors have a very limited time because they have to do several things, and this means that we should not use the time of the professors, the researchers, to bureaucratic tasks. We should focus their work in the research, teaching, and supervision. This is one of the things that I think we should really try to improve in the near future, because the week has 40 hours. For sure, for some, there are some that work 60 hours, even more, but this is not healthy, and I think we should take care of this and reduce the bureaucratic burden for the professors. And we need also coordinated but not centralized actions, so that we can really go in the right direction together, but not with over-centralization. This is also one point, one barrier. And we should focus on excellence. We should be very good in what we do. And this is a requirement. If we are not very good on what we do in terms of research, teaching, projects, we will not be internationalized at all. So, consequences, the positive consequences of doing the right thing. We will, in the long and medium to the long term, emerge a new university, a university that is more internationalized, means more excellent. A number that I would say like a dream, 5 to 10% of international students at UFSC. I did my PhD in a university that had 15%, but it was Germany. And then recently I made a postdoc. I was a visitor scholar in a university with also 12% international students. This is, I know it's different in Europe, but I think Brazil and UFSC can be very attractive and achieve this 5 to 10% of international students and 5 to 10% international collaboration. This is easier to achieve. I think we could achieve this in the medium term. Positive impact to graduate and undergraduate programs. I say that in the previous roundtable, I think we have in the graduate courses an opportunity to experiment some new things that if we do it right in the graduate courses, we can then cross-pollinize the undergraduate courses, so that we can really graduate and the new engineer generation will be more prepared to deal with the Industry 4.0 challenges. This includes a globalized world. this includes also a more international world. And finally, I think we should try to target in a very virtuous cycle where research, teaching, projects are together, close together, going in the right direction, the direction of internationalization, the direction of excellence, transforming, and even more than UFSC is already, transforming UFSC in a really role model in Brazil, in Latin America, and also in the world. So that's my very short 5 minutes talk to end, and be the last is very difficult, but I try to do my best. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. We had to turn off our camera, Professor Enzo, because of a presentation. So it was really, really good. Thank you very much also for your kindness to the ladies and staying to the end. And I must apologize to everyone because of my, so we are somehow late, but I think it was really worth it. I learned a lot. I'm quoting Leila. We all learned a lot. And I think it's very important to exchange, because by exchanging, we learn every time. And that's the main reason of our internationalization process. So I'm grateful to everyone, especially our foreign guests. And I want to really thank you and say just that I hope to see you soon. Be safe, and I hope next year we can meet again, but personally, and make a big party, and also an interaction, a cultural interaction, as I heard from Diana, and I totally agree. So one of the important parts of internationalization is this possibility to interact and to learn about other culture, other languages, because exactly we have an X here for print. It's called multiculturality and linguistics, and this is a good discussion we have here about the multilingualism as a process of internationalization. And I thank you very much for saying that for us. And well, I'd like to say goodbye. Good night to Barbara. And I appreciate, despite the delay, your presence here. And I hope you have a good evening. And thank you very much. And I'm going to start right now, right away, then our last session. You are all invited to stay if you want.
Okay. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. I thank you. And we are going to start our last session. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Professor Hugo, Professor Leila, Professor Enzo, Professor Gregorio, Professor Pacheco, Professor Jussara. I thank you for being here.